Hello and welcome. Thank you for coming out on this historically hot day. My name is Janaka Stucky. I am the founding editor and I get to say executive director now of Black Ocean because we became a nonprofit in December of 2024 for the first time after publishing for almost 20 years. I want to welcome everyone here tonight. I want to thank you. This is sort of I want to thank Grolier for setting up what's sort of a mini Black Ocean showcase. All the readers here tonight have books out with Black Ocean. We are based out of Boston and Chicago. For those of you who don't know, I am a Boston area native, and it's always great to be doing events here at Grolier as a result, a place that I frequented many times as an undergrad MFA student. By way of introduction for Black Ocean, and sort of in the same vein of what I just mentioned, it was a weird time, and we knew it was going to be a weird time to incorporate as a nonprofit, December of last year. You know, the election had already happened, but we didn't know like how weird of a time it would be to be a nonprofit. It's been an interesting learning experience, as we were never really going after or relying on NEA type grants for funding. We had been I want to say for-profit for 18 years. And there were a number of reasons why we decided to switch to nonprofit, mainly around succession and legacy building. But what I didn't really think about was, with the collapse of all of that federal money for nonprofits, how competitive the landscape would be for all the other sources of funding for nonprofits, which is what I was already planning on pursuing. So I just wanted to share this morning. I've been working with a nonprofit consultant to kind of coach me on, you know, how I talk about Black Ocean and how I write LOIs as a nonprofit, all these things that I'm not used to doing because I'm used to just kind of like selling books. And so I'm sort of thinking of this as like a safe space, friends of house audience. And I was writing an LOI for Black Ocean this morning, and I'm just going to bounce off the first paragraph off. And you guys can kind of like give me a thumbs up or thumbs down, because this is going to be like boilerplate application material for funding. Dear blank, every day readers across the country turn to poetry to make sense of the ineffable moments that define being human. A high school student finds language for struggles they couldn't name before. Someone navigating loss discovers their grief reflected and transformed in verse that makes the unbearable feel witnessed. We mark our most significant milestones, births, deaths, love, heartbreak, through poems, because they transform our most profound experiences into language we can apprehend and unfold alongside. Black Ocean's vision is to create a literary landscape where innovative, boundary-pushing voices have the platform and support they deserve to reach readers who hunger for authentic, transformative stories. I got a couple good, some good thumbs up, some people abstaining. That's okay. I want to take some notes. So tonight we have a number of readers from our, I would say, our very current catalog, 2024 and 2025. Some are on tour, some are here locally, some are in translation, some are not. And I'm going to introduce all of them for you tonight. Our first reader this evening is Tessa Bolsover. And before I read her bio, Tessa's manuscript, Crane, came to us. And there are, you know, when we have open reading periods, we get 500, like over 500 manuscripts, usually in a 30-day period that we then go through. And one of the sort of principles that's been central to Black Ocean from the beginning is that we're not just interested in publishing very established voices, but we love publishing new voices and debut books. And but when we do the readings, we do them fairly blind. We don't know a lot about the authors. But there is always a moment when I'm reading a manuscript, and it's usually in the first 5 to 10 pages, where I just know that this is like a Black Ocean book, that I know this is a book that I need to publish that has some sort of resonance with the rest of our 20-year catalog, and that this is something that people who have come to Black Ocean over the years are going to love, and something that I'm going to love introducing into the world. And Crane was that book for that year when we read it. So I've never heard Tessa read from it before, so I'm really excited to hear her read from it tonight. Tessa is a poet based in Durham, North Carolina, and Queens, New York. Her work has appeared in Peripheries, the Poetry Project newsletter, the Brooklyn Rail Diagram, Black Sun's Digital Vestiges, the Slow Poetry in America newsletter, the Swan, and elsewhere. She holds an MFA from Brown University and is currently pursuing a PhD at Duke. She is also a founding editor of Auric Press. Please welcome up Tessa.
Thank you so much. So excited to be here, and just like so thoroughly honored to be among the Black Ocean catalog and to have gotten to work with you. It's been really, really lovely. So I'm going to read first. I'm going to read two things. I'm going to read first from Crane, and what I did with this it's in 3 sections. So instead of just reading one of the 3 sections, I decided to kind of remix it, and I'll be drawing from the 3 different parts and sort of weaving them together into something a little new. And yeah, so just for some context, the first section is called Crane, and it is basically trying to work with the poetics of the hinge. And to do that, I'm looking a lot into mythology and as well as personal narrative, and drawing out particularly these sort of lost bits of narrative about Cardea, also called Crane or Karna, who was the Roman goddess of hinges, about whom there's only a few like lines and a couple obscure unfinished texts and things. So that's the first section. The second section is kind of a prosy essay form that turns more and more into kind of degrades into poems as it goes, and that is following research I was doing into echoes and thinking about the mythological figure of echo, and also more generally these sort of patterns of the like what happens with the non-significatory voice, and when the body sort of dissolves in these moments of desire. So thinking a lot about like dissolution of sound and body. And then the third is this kind of strange sequence of poems that I wrote in another heat wave when I had first moved to North Carolina. And it was a strange time, and I was experiencing a lot of symptoms of illness that at that time was undiagnosed. It was very sort of strange, and this is basically a fever dream of a poem. So I'm gonna, pull from all 3, and then I'm gonna read just a little bit of a new manuscript that I'm working on. The voice pours out from sound to organize the space around it. Noise of rain and hairfall, wild rotation light. I brush my hair slowly in the silence formed between two mirrors. To see in all directions, deficit of nations, overgrown with roots and coral. Early spring. I dip my hand into the canal, sifting water. Green bubbles just below the surface crest and cling like beetles to the rocks. Error weaves into the frame, softening that which had been calcified. Error like the roots that dislodge fences, error like grass. Should I lay it down among the shadows? The silver floral switchblade my mother gave me. The jointed clip you slipped into my pocket, lay it softly in the silt and watch the surface shimmer. There are forms our bodies take outside the image. Small moon, greenish, coin and iris pressed into the subway platform. In my dream, you held your hands over my eyes, and in them, I saw separate darknesses. Shards of compact, mirror shimmer, cisterns, flood beneath the tongue. Life is death were Lengthia, death the hinge to life, wrote Emily Dickinson in 1863. This chiasmic image of a life-death axis is reminiscent of the Roman deity Janus, who, gate-like, sees both forward and backwards at once. In Ovid's Fasti, Janus comes across a huntress nymph, variously called Crane, Cardea, or Carna, in a forest grove. Evading his attempt to seduce her, she pretends to follow him into a cave before darting away to hide in the woods. Janus, able to see behind his back, catches and rapes her. He then places a whitethorn twig into her hand, giving her power over hinges. Hinges connect and hold apart. They set a frame in which separate components open and close while remaining a single object. Hinges are the points at which a structure undoes itself. They allow a plane to fold, collapse, and open into space while maintaining the possibility for multiplicity and mutability. Language behaves similarly. The unsaid within the said lends a word both its particularity and its instability. There are voids in the architecture of writing, moth bites in the weave of language. The unsaid pushes up against the curves and notches of lettering. Sleep threads its way deeper into my days, carving tributaries through waking life like runs in nylon, only visible from certain angles. Dreams pass between the nodding heads of the women on the dawn bus, which lull like heavy flowers caught in wind. At the transfer station, I step onto a subway car and find the ads have been spray painted blue. I'm held momentarily in a rickety suspension between stops, a moving room of false windows. Mimetic distance wavering blue like plastic bags like the base of a flame. I want to say that Crane, too, is double-sided, Gemini. There are violences we learn to wear like eyes on the backs of our heads. I awake in the boughs, battered and paddling against the window, bruised shadows in the hardwood. Amplified by rain, the sounds inside resonate like pieces of a disassembled object. Slowly, words begin to spread with a viscous clarity over everything. Words unstruck, simple as honey, invoking all that is secret and unprivatized. In the pre-dawn haze, I wash my face still printed with the fresh tracks of a dream in which I'm standing on the side of a mountain, the bare slopes covered with small white rocks that rearrange their matter slowly beneath my feet. In the neutral, Barthes describes 3 stages of suspension. The first is the non-reply. The second, stammering, to evade not the reply, but the non-reply. The third he calls the dilatory, a method rooted in the hope that the question will be forgotten, that the demand will shift. The essence of the dilatory is its desire to be infinite. Seeking departure, seeking weaker points of crossing, seeking radio, hyacinth, the minerality of green, delay expands. Variations in marigold and flight pattern, a broken turnstile silt dawning over concrete, you know an edge is only tilted field. In the body there are doorways. Half asleep on an empty train, I see Crane again in dream, her face blurred as though photographed in motion. What is vivid? A single glitter lodged between the moving eyes, the determined comma crease at the edge of her mouth. The sky slides along the window in striations of blue and green. The sound of blood aligns with the sound of the train, the ear, the air, all minerals alight with magnetism. Hours host our bodies' dissolution. Forest deep with halos, wildfire fragrance held in air. Before the lights came on, our eyes were freckled darkness. Before sounds took shape, we were angels in an archway pierced with long and diligent thorns. Practiced breath in circular oceans. Tides form a net of shifting contact, moonful. Stretch marks bloom in the space between soundings, tilt glass to intercept the speech of light. Only 2 species of flying birds are known to echolocate. The nocturnal fruit-eating oilbird of South America and the Aerodromus and Colocalia genera of the swiftlet family. Both species nest in dark caves, using echolocation to gather information about their surroundings and, in the case of oilbirds, forage palm and laurel fruit at night. Unlike most bats, the acoustic signals of these birds fall within a sonic range audible to human ears. The high-pitched clicking noises are produced by vibrating the exhalatory airflow as it passes through the bird's vocal organs in quick, muscular contractions. Gather mosses, eggshells. Cast out signals, extract echoes from the dark, connective, sinew repercussions. Echo lashes out like lashes, clasping and unclasping swiftlets, clicking circuits in the trees. Gaia, limping, hides her pieces in the hills. Unsettled place talks back, sounding out the phonemes of relation, atrophying diagrams of touch. Do we write in mourning for or forfeit of ourselves? My body, which is not only mine, spreads away the more malleable space like a swimmer. I press my palms against your stomach like a door to sense the haptic darkness, to pour my inconclusions into shapes that I can hold. The voice gathers wood. Leaves flicker belly up to signal coming storms. Echo touches the ground with both hands, then rises, backwards through trees, turns, forgetting, mouth rearranged to the wind. So if it's cool, I thought I'll read a couple of poems from this new piece I'm working on. I'm still sort of figuring it out, but right now it's called Exits. We speak at night in unrecorded languages, local only to the acousmatics of the sleeping body's voice, the listening veil of nerves. Relentless with each hour's attendant angel governing planet, darkness pours into itself like salt. Shapes appear in a thin gauze of rain. A pale green vertical net the body forms. The body forms a tear between words. In liquid tongues of chlorophyll, oxtail orchids, castor oil. The body quivering like an arrow with anticipatory images. The strictest measurements of time are hinged to the vibratory flux of softened metal. Cesium, from Latin sky blue, is mined from lakes for clocks and oil well drilling. Isolate of Pollux, ellipse, twin of Castor, split his brother's death in two to orbit outside time as Gemini. There are many ways the body carries out its dissolution. Steel wool blooming in the sink, an unexpected flare of deep estrangement. I slice the cucumber the neighbors left, mix Himalayan salt, anise, drugstore honey. Hips wrapped in reused medical gauze, the light bends me like a stalk, the dead grasses outside vibrate, radiant with pennies. Do not remind me that there will be a time for mourning, a time for self-destruction, openly incantatory time in tides, museums abolished, artifacts of time, algal blooms of time to consume light. In this word, I am another. In the video, cascading trash is crushed into cubes, the 8 points of which are known to symbolize the unity of energy and matter. Prisms called up out of tangible things. As even in this consulate of sound, entropic registries of silence blossom beneath words to document the whereabouts of torn up gods, the quickening violence of angels. And therein form durations, mercurial durations, durations that ignite, separating self from surface texture, a tray of ice cubes from consortiums of light. Focus breath to the divot of the spine. Under earth, in lake beds, currents surge through ribboned mineral deposits. Basin of the collarbone, a vanishing point of contact, inverse, muscled bell within the throat. Isis collects scattered remnants of a former self or sense of wholeness, not silent, not proposing resolution. Out of time comes form and its ability to be dissolved and made again. If there's to be something that remains, it is this. Watery precinct, wherein all things become mirrors of themselves and are arranged around the room like ladders. Awake, you are an after image tracked across the bed. Black coins of clotted earth in the vertigo of leaving, slipping in and out of masks and nebulae of beaded sweat, the petal fossil of your mouth. Kneecap, sorry, let me start that over. Slipping in and out of masks and nebulae of beaded sweat, the petal fossil of your kneecap that I pressed into my mouth. As in certain manias, the dead renounce their claim to property and, lacking mirrors, recompose the living in the image of their deaths. Leave behind the body and its language. Make nothing of it. Sliced lotus root, the heart's insurgent chambers. Soft diameter of anus dilates into Libra, slowly tuning dialect of shattered stars. What is healed in anger and what is hidden. To extract salt from water and expect to be made clean. To dress oneself in sheets of glass and covered mirrors, having passed through having. Thank you so much.
Let's hear it one more time for Tessa. Our next reader this evening is also someone who I've never heard reading in person before. Spencer Lee-Lenfield is a translator of Biologicity, which is the most difficult to pronounce title in our Moon Country series of Korean poetry and translation. The Moon Country series sort of came about from a trip that I made to South Korea in 2015 on a cultural ambassador grant from the US government for some reason. But on that trip, I had a few revelations. The first was that spicy fish stew with kimchi actually is a great breakfast. The second was that there was this really vibrant, exciting contemporary poetry culture in South Korea that I wanted to help sort of bring over to the US in some way. And I was also really struck in general by sort of like an appreciation for book arts there. Just like design and quality of manufacture and everything, which has been core to what I wanted to do with Black Ocean since we started in 2006, 2007. You know, at that time, not to digress too much, but at that time, there weren't a lot of indie poetry publishers in the United States. It was sort of like bigger poetry publishers who were treating poetry as sort of like a charity project. And then there were some, of course, indie publishers out there, but a lot of them were making pretty ugly books. I'll be honest. Like the books were good, you know, the content was good. Books were kind of ugly, and like it hurt me to kind of somatically engage with them and what I wanted to be a sensual experience. And I was like, wow, this glue's coming out of the binding, and design is just like put my own cover on it. And anyway, so I wanted to in starting Black Ocean, I wanted to treat poetry as a front list genre. And I wanted to give it a beautiful physical form. I wanted to create artifacts that you enjoyed holding, engaging with, reading as much as you enjoyed the content. And so when I saw that there was this like vibrant book arts culture in South Korea as well, I thought, let's figure out how to make something happen here. So so we started having conversations, and the Moon Country series was born. We are now almost 12 titles into the series, which with at least 8 more to go. And I've been just so happy with the way the series come out. We have a series editor, Jake Levine, who is an expat who's been living in South Korea for a very long time. And he sort of like scours the scene and helps find not just exciting Korean poets to publish, but really great translations of them, because there are a lot of not so great translations out there as well. And you know, I'm I don't read Korean, but I am about 50% of Black Ocean's catalog annually is now in translation. So I'm a big fan of translation in general. And what I look for in translation is, of course, I lean on the experts to sort of advise me on fidelity. But fidelity comes in a few flavors, right? It's not just technical fidelity, it's fidelity of spirit, fidelity of aesthetic, fidelity of experience, and looking for so I rely on Jake for some of the more technical fidelity, and then I just sort of come to it as an English reader, and I say, does this resonate with me? Does this feel exciting and new and strange and wonderful? And has the translator done a job of sort of like making it alive for an English reader? And Spencer has definitely done that with Biologicity. So I'm excited to welcome Spencer, who translates from Korean to English, including Biologicity, from which poems have appeared in Guernica, Kenyon Review, The Margins, New England Review, other journals. His own writing has appeared in PMLA, Modern Language Quarterly, Poetics Today, the New York Review of Books, the Chronicle of Higher Education, Harvard Magazine, and Slate. And Spencer teaches here at Harvard. Please welcome up Spencer.
Thank you so much to Janaka and also to James, the Grolier. So it's a total dream to get to be reading here. So I too, walking here so often as an undergraduate, it did not occur to me, partly because they weren't doing readings at that point in time, that someday I might get to sort of read here. So, but it's a huge delight to be able to do this. It's a delight to be able to share an evening with Tessa, whom I'm delighted to get to meet and was absolutely wowed by just now. And also James, whose co-translation, so with Dorothy, of the poet Yam Gong, I had the delight of getting to hear at Lamont Library this past spring. So it's a wonderful book. I encourage you all to look for it. And this is one of the reasons why Janaka has not heard me read before, is because this is the first time I have done a public reading ever in person, one online. And to James and Dorothy, it was a wonderful kind of role model for how to go about doing this. So I hope that this is half as good as that wonderful reading this past spring was. So also, many thanks to Black Ocean for everything that you've done, not just for Shin Hae-uk, whom I'm delighted and humbled to be able to represent here this evening, but really for the ecosystem of Korean poetry and English translation more generally. I had so many friends have fantastic opportunities through the Moon Country series, including my friend Olin Munson, whose work I just absolutely adore. Black Ocean is doing such wonderful things together with the Literature Translation Institute of Korea for Korean poetry. And I hope that you go out and buy not just this book, but the many other wonderful volumes from this series. So by way of starting off, let me read a little bit from the foreword to this book, so by way of introduction to Shin Hae-uk and what kind of poet, writer, and intellect she is. The poetry of Shin Hae-uk reads like a set of letters from someone uniquely horrified by her fellow humans' numbness to the prison of reality and violently committed to awakening them to their isolation from the full range of people and objects around them. Loneliness smolders under these words, but only because their speaker hasn't yet given up the possibility of finding others who know the same loneliness. Have you ever imagined what it's like to have the ears of the house you were born in? Do you feel like your mind is a victim of your body's biochemistry? Do you hate your body, but yet also fear for its safety? Then this book of poems wants you to know you are not alone. Or perhaps this book wants to be alone together with you. Um, Let me start by reading the very short poem that made me want to translate this collection. I'll read it first in Korean, so you have a little bit of a taste of the sound, and then I'll read it in English. I don't think that compression is the only thing that poetry can be good at or need be good at, but when it does do it well, it's striking. And after I started working on this one, I couldn't put it down. But the title is Ears, or in Korean, 귀. 귀가 몇 개만 더 있으면 정말 좋았을 텐데 우리 모래 녹는 소리 속에서 오래오래 생각에 잠기고 싶었다. Ears. Ears. Having just a few more would be great. Water melting into water. Within that sound, forever in thought, I wanted to sink. So one feature of Korean volumes of poetry is that at the beginning of every volume of poetry, more or less, poets write a poet's note, which is not quite a poem, though it often has the form of a poem, but with a kind of different posture. It usually appears right before the table of contents, detached from the poetry that follows. So again, by way of kind of setting up the collection, I wanted to share with you Shin's author's note. I feel as though I've borrowed a tiny bit of a day with no date or name for my birthday, and I'm writing a diary entry about it. I've had far too little oxygen, but with great effort, I suppose I managed to breathe somehow. My heartfelt gratitude to all who read these words. Shin Hae-uk, Winter, 2009. And I'd like to read you a set of poems, a kind of taster, so from different moments in the collection, more or less in the order that they appear in the collection. And I think that'll probably take us right up to 15 minutes. So let me start with a poem titled Apart But Together. Rather, in a way that I actually found myself hearing sort of in your poems, Tessa, when you talk to Shin and read her poetry, she's really interested recurrently in the idea of what it would be like to be more than one person at once, or frustrated with the sense that you only get to be one person in life and wishing you could sometimes share your existence with another person, share your existence with a few other people. And you'll hear this in several poems, including this one. Apart, but together. Let's share a name from now on. Perfectly equal. Till now, our time together has been too selfish, too lonely. We both have 2 eyes, a pair of ears, countless hairs, but my share of things doesn't work like that. The lines on my palm run where they like, then vanish just the same. The people in my dreams stretch into reality, answer the phone, and I'm bad at subtraction. I don't get how some things just remain while others disappear. If we share a name, I won't be stalked. I'll hear no double sounds. Let's think it over. The next poem is titled Color. I suffer from excessive colors. I've been bad. There were so many things I liked that I kept stealing them. Natural, artificial. Sorry, I even messed with your shadow. And worse, stole from the water. The colors fill me, oddly, so my knees bend too easily. And I am far too heavy. But still, there's many an upside. You are here. I am rusting and short of breath. it'll be like this a long, long time. To a friend I miss. I'm drafting a letter in the hand of a friend who died at 12. Hello, friend. I'm still eating food in my human form, thinking with my human brain. Yet today, I realized I'd like to lend myself to you. Want to break out your smile after 3 years in deep freeze. If you want, you can put my voice on tape. My hand might move awkwardly, but I do believe if I were you, I'd be up to writing your story. I hope you'll write me back. Hello, friend. I like you, like a tottering bowling pin. Um, the next poem first appeared in Guernica, which is the first publication that agreed to run any of these poems, after which I've remained incredibly grateful. And the wonderful editor there at the time, Cindy Jo Young-ok, whose poetry I admire a lot, really helped nudge the poetry into place bit by bit. And it made me realize, oh, wow, the translation too. So is a process of working with editors bit by bit and wrestling these poems into place with multiple voices. Um, I'm grateful to so many editors and readers along the way, certainly Jake. And I just wanted to mention this by way of grateful acknowledgement to each of them. 100% house. A house where no one lives needs someone to draw it full of glass, then smash that glass to bits. Glass is clear, no matter what kind, so filling it with fingerprints is fine. Scribbling names over names, pressing to it lip upon lip. And just like that, the glass, impassive, will vanish. The house, again, will fill with houseness. In its air, our traces linger, teeming. Several layers of sighs resound, and some single shattered shard might well glint nearby. And then, if the tree to the side oozes out a human soul, carve it eyes, nose, lips, bright into the bark. Should you ask, who is it? I'll tell you, it's me. Two more. This is the second to last poem in the collection, and I think of it as a kind of benediction. Debt. I borrowed the body of an angel, but it's not like mine hadn't been good enough. A fraction of time made clear my own was an awful situation. An angel's body. I was more than a little obsessed with my debt. Could barely breathe with the wings. Had no clue what to do with their weight upon my shoulders. The angel half smiled at my backside and said, you must bury yourself in thoughts whiter than snow. Angel bodies are worth more than mere money, and since they last longer than time itself, there's no real way to repay them. Only a few times in life have I ever seen an expression as useless as mine. Even in my face, hardened to the point of breaking, an angel's tears blot out the way ahead. The last poem I'd like to share does not appear in this collection. Shin and I are working on translating her most recent book of poetry, which is from this past year, and its title is 자연의 가장자리와 자연사, the edge of nature and natural history. And so when I asked her about this, she said that I said, So is it a like eco-environmental kind of a collection? So is it, are you thinking about the future of nature, the past of nature? No, it's not nature like that. So it's nature in terms of what's intuitive or instinctive. I'm trying to probe at the edge of what's natural. Sat there, oh. But it's a really remarkable collection. So it's more of a through narrative, so than her previous books, through kind of a half hallucinated, half real version of Soul. And the characters are constantly picking up new adventurers along the way. So there's one poem with recurrent characters of grandmothers who are described as the grandmothers with the beautiful foreheads. So there's a Barbie doll, there's the corpse of Vladimir Lenin. So it's a wonderful book. Please look out for it. But as a taste of that, here's a poem titled Hosanna. Oh, Grandma, lend us your healing hand, please. We reverence the host, think we have fallen ill. How holy art thou, slashed the sign of the cross, with our stomachs empty. Oh, bring us to eternal life, permitted to swallow a single piece. How holy art thou, just one more. Hosanna, just a little more. I ate too much. Ingestion permissible, scarfing, wolfing it down, was possible, but the cecum, CF cecum, we're high on hypostasis. We think we had been turning somersaults. Hat aflight on a wheel, red hat, couldn't hold back. What's red is lies. The word wriggled, prodding the stomach 2 turns, piercing the lungs, dizzying paradoxes. I wish to confess, little lambs writhing thrice in the belly as the cecum, CF cecum. We clutch our bellies, collapse into Grandma's tail. Didn't know you transformed, Granny. Rawhide stretched over public rib bones. Truly, didn't know your convulsions look like an insect leaping. What a mess. We feel as though we've been ensnared, then sealed shut. Hosanna, just a little more, please. Who, with grandmother's needle, a mess, keep pricking the fingertips. Blood welling, a mess, keep wearing an amulet, a mess. Nang Pe, Nang and Pe, names of wolves writ in red, thronging, swarming. Thank you so much.
Here, one more time for Spencer. Oops. As I previously mentioned, about 50% of our catalog annually is now in translation. Aside from Korean, we publish Swedish poets, Slovenian, Argentinian, probably forgetting some. Anyway, and now Japanese coming up next. When I was in my early 20s, before I started Black Ocean, so back in 2001, I met my haiku sensei, Mark Audi, who was a poet up in Vermont. And I met him at a head-to-head haiku competition. So think of sort of like March Madness brackets, right? And winners go on until there's only one haiku poet left standing. And so I got really excited about haiku. Mark was the winner of that competition, and I was really admired Mark's sort of like weird style of haiku. And then he sort of mentored me over a year, and then in true successful sensei fashion, I defeated Mark the following year in the head-to-head haiku competition, and I went on to become the national champion 2 years in a row, actually. And then, like everyone wants to dethrone the king, right? So I would find myself going to readings and people in the audience challenging me to haiku competitions. So then I created the haiku death match, which the idea was that every round, rather than it being judged, one poet had to cede the round to the other poet, right? So that there was this aspect of humility to it. And then the death match part is that when you cede the round, you take a shot of sake. And it's 17 rounds. So as you, it's a true test of character, because as you get more and more inebriated on sake, do you become more and more humble and cede more rounds? Or does your ego kind of emerge through inebriation, and then you start insisting that you are the winner of those rounds and then your opponent needs to cede? So anyway, I did that for a number of years. That's all to say that when James brought this haiku manuscript to Black Ocean, I was really excited to be publishing a contemporary Japanese haiku poet under Black Ocean. And Carrie, our poetry editor, has been studying Japanese for many, many years. So we not only were excited to publish it, but we decided to publish it in a bilingual edition, which is up there. Applause for a cloud. It's that black cover. And I think it came out really beautifully with Japanese facing the English. I have heard James read before, but I am no less excited to hear James read again this evening. James Shea is the author of 3 poetry collections: The Lost Novel, Star in the Eye, and Last Day. Typo. I'm not going to read the typo. Last Day of My Face, which just won the 2025 Iowa Poetry Prize. He has received grants from the Fulbright U.S. Scholar Program, Hong Kong Arts Development Council, National Endowment for the Arts, RIP, and Vermont Arts Council. He is co-editor of the Routledge Global Haiku Reader and co-translator of Moving a Stone, Selected Poems of Yangon. Please welcome up James.
Thanks, Janaka. So I'll read some haiku from the book, and then I'll end with some poems from this poetry collection that came out this week, in fact. And it's been a fascinating process to have this come out here because, for example, I've never seen a book of Japanese haiku come out with like a black cover. It's usually bright, something white or yellow. But when Sayumi saw this, and she wrote to me, and she said, the black cover makes the haiku inside seem more colorful. And so it was kind of a sweet take on on the book. But having it be bilingual and rendering the Japanese haiku in a vertical line, the way it's printed in Japan, I think we did a good job of putting it into a package for North American readers. So thank you. So I'll read some of the haiku and occasionally read the Japanese. Hasumu kana, Tyrannosaurus mo, Otto mo. Not sure in this mist, a Tyrannosaurus or my husband. Mugi no aki, Ohio kara, konbanwa made. Harvesting wheat from good morning until good evening. On a green summer night, a horse of glass neighs in the distance. The silence of a 2-year-old, the shape of marshmallows. Men are those who approach roses awkwardly. Hikunami ni ha ga sarete yuku kai no yume. Dreams of a clan torn away in the undertow. Summer's over, mutters a goblin in the tree crotch. In a field of mustard flowers, just a few ways for the light to return home. In the wake of a water strider, the water lumbers on. From the ham to the house walls, Parma is a healthy pink. Sukiakari, yane kara Ada e, Mada e, Me e. Under moonlight, from a rooftop, toward a branch, a window, an eye. The lice gather stickily in the afternoon. Inside a drawer, a stapler singing away. Rearing the dusk, fresh water, fingernails, and my gray hair. Byoin ga higasa no shita ni toku chisaku. A hospital under an umbrella, far and small. In the morning, an intravenous drip with the speed of a lotus opening. As refreshing as the trans and transients. To be cured with the ease of clouds breaking. Sour water, a dying rose soaks it up. Sitting on the grass, tired of my bag and motherhood. Blood and nails are probably necessary for a cherry tree. 2:05 p.m. If I peel this banana, it's 2:06. A flower petal on its way to cross a bridge. Go peiji kara, 10 peiji made, mugi, mugi, mugi. From page 5 to page 10, wheat, wheat, wheat. The character for death I write in the wind is not separate from the wind. Suterareru baketsu no oto wa dongaran. The sound of a bucket being thrown away. Dongaran. Honto wa futatsu kamo. Natsu no taiyo. Actually, it could be two things. A summer sun. Passing into the new year, I look for a handrail on the staircase. First morning of the new year, to complete the scene, let's add a pinch of salt. I'll read a few from this book. Voyage. Whenever I watch a black and white film, I think of how all the extras are dead. I don't think about the stars this way. They are larger than life on the screen, shown in close-up, best lit. The film a testament to their afterlife. That those extras sadden me with their walk-ons. Cameos of the unknown. They still exist in some manner here before me, but in the brevity of their appearance, they are vigorously alive and gone. A vitality at doing nothing in particular, not drawing too much attention, quickly cast aside. That's who I am off camera, were the director to pan suddenly to me on my couch. Miss more than the stars, for they have no lines, no special directions, just told to act naturally, without words. Wake. Shirt came to mourn my chest, shoes the arches of my feet, cufflinks my wrists, hat my head, socks my toes, and buttons my fingers. Tie came to mourn the nape of my neck, belt my waist, jacket my shoulders, glasses my temples and bridge of my nose. Underwear came and cried at the casket. Underwear who knew me best. Archangel. I spoke against the circumference around me, but I was unheard of, When it came to the masters, I was unread. They didn't read me. I hope to make a good companion out of myself after I'm dead. Saccade. Grandmother's funeral rites. Bad vaudeville. The binocular salesman had an owl-like face. My signature is a zigzag. A few new circumstances can change the future. The future can change the past. Something inherently elegiac about reversals. God is infinite, like money. I can't say anything accurate and universal at the same time, except that everyone sleeps. The new normal is an ancient strange. Join my company. Pay is at half pay. Only adults giggle nervously. I sit at the bar, fingering my iPad. Hang tight means to hang loose. Writing a poem is like the moment in a musical when people go suddenly from talking to singing. The sea of time entails an oarsman. The sea of time entails an astrolabe, skiff. Rich kids don't drown, I heard once. I want a God that humans can punish. This is an homage to a classical Chinese poet named Ma Juyan, who wrote a short poem that had only one verb. So this is a short poem with no verbs. After Ma Juyan. Electric Valley, a little wind, indefinite clouds, an old snail, 2 monkeys, 6-inch moth on the balcony, coral green trees, a bus down the mountain, AC, traveler without teeth in the middle of a private street. Fissure, a white stoat in the woods, graceful and inquisitive, part spiritus, its pulsing heart nearly visible under its fur. Squirrels in every direction, unashamed of hunger. Snow melted as if it were never possible for the earth to be covered in anything but sunlight. An alien deer sees me. My head fits into the hollow of a tree. Sun drops on my neck. Hard to stand, how still a deer can stand. That's that. Certain words I dislike. Ooze, lozenge. Other words I love. Katydid, bumblebee. Take that, for instance. How it comes fat from the mouth. Nowhere to elide it, massage it. It's a pronoun, that's what I like. A conjunction, that I might love. An adverb, that much. An adjective, that word sounds like what it stands for. Isness. This is quieter, less of a claim. I defer to the sure sense of things. That's how I approach catastrophe. Hardwired. It's an elderly morning, the oldest one to date. 3 handsome dogs, triplets, walking loosely with their mistress, hovering above her work, as if she had a secret, or an admirer, or she were an admirer of secrets. Trees with mops of leaves. I'm thinking of the last time I ever climbed a tree, and why I ever stopped. I prefer the darker hours, before dawn, when work is applauded by sunlight. I have a strong sense there is something very official and something very unofficial about these workmen emerging out of a hatchback. Motion. Sometimes when a tram passenger looks out the window, a companion places a hand on her shoulder. The bell dings at the stop. No one gets off, and wind enters every window of the carriage. Scaffolding sways around an office building. With her hair tied back, the passenger looks down at her lap. The companion says something brief in his language. He has never seen a film that did not contain sound. And I'll end with this poem. It's the first poem in the book. It's called Sunbroker. Lifeguards can't save themselves from their own wasting. What's my record of attending to the world? A mute pool in winter. Is wisdom efficient? The sun's beams reach the patio in a tie. What I need is a continuous ray of light at my side, a chance to make up for the luxury of not understanding. Thanks, everybody.
One more time for James. So I want to thank you all again for coming out tonight. I used to run a monthly poetry series at the Brookline Booksmith a number of years ago. And at the Brookline Booksmith, they had these posters up around the store that said, when you buy a book from an indie bookstore, you just did 10 great things. And it sort of enumerates the great things you did by buying that book. And so I would close the readings at Brookline Booksmith with what I'm going to say to you tonight, is that if you buy a book from an indie bookstore, you've done 10 great things. And doing 10 great things is pretty fantastic, right? It probably absolves you of any of the terrible things you did over the past week, right? If you buy a book published by an indie press from an indie bookstore, you've probably done like 20 great things, right? Which is not only absolves you of all the terrible things you did over the past week, but kind of gives you like a free ride for the next couple of days too, to make some mistakes, some bad judgment calls, something like that. But if you buy like 2 or 3 books from an indie bookstore, well, now we're talking like 40 to 60 great things, which is like, you're golden for like the rest of the summer at that point, right? So I encourage you to pick up books from all of our readers tonight to support the Grolier, to support Black Ocean, but most of all, to support yourselves and all the mistakes that you are going to make over the next couple of months. Thank you again for coming out tonight. Thank you to our readers. Thank you to the Grolier, as always, for hosting us. Have a wonderful evening.
Oh. Yes. She's writing about.
Yeah. I love the new school.
We're treating a face.
Yeah, thank you.
Still have a lot of
The prize was announced maybe a year ago, and then finally.
We also shared that picture, so given one last.
Yeah. We get to remind.
I did.
Nice. Yes.
No, one. Yeah. That's your book. That's I really.